Alright guys, welcome to another episode of Schmattz Outdoors. We're deep into the off season here. Today I'm going to do a video on how I dip all my traps. I use speed dip. I've had good success with it. I dip all my traps, my 330s, coyote traps, everything. I dip them. Basically I look at all my traps every year and just kind of decide which ones need it, which ones don't. I don't dip them every year. I just dip them when they need it. If they're maybe 25% of it's rubbed off, you know, like if you catch a raccoon in a set or something, they rub it off pretty badly, I'll dip it the next year. Let's show you what I got going on. So I'm doing all muskrat traps today. I'm doing all the muskrat traps I have. We're gonna dip them all this year. Some of them I've bought used, may have been dipped once already, but most of them aren't. So what I did is I have this rack here. So basically it's just like an A-frame rack, you can see, but you got to keep all your traps basically inside your footprint, and that keeps your center of gravity over here. It keeps it from tipping over. So I got some stopwatch traps and then 1.5s, and then over here I just took and I put a screw on each side of these 2x4s, and I got 110s mostly hanging over here. There's a few 1.5s on the end here, but this is almost exclusively 110s. So what I did is I spent the last couple weeks of tuning all these traps to make sure they're all set, ready to go. Dipping them might mess with that just a little bit, but I can adjust that in the field when I'm setting them. You know, clean a little bit of the dye off if it you know, gunks up in the wrong spots where it, you know, don't want to stay set or something like that. But otherwise what I did is I rinsed all these off yesterday. I basically just stuck them in a tote, you know, that's watertight. Let them set maybe 15-20 minutes, some of them maybe half an hour, whatever, just as long as it took me to get them sprayed off. And then I just took my hose with a spray nozzle and I sprayed them off, made sure all the dirt and excess rust and all that stuff is off of them, and then I hung them here to dry overnight. So they actually got a little bit extra kind of coating of rust on there that actually helps the speed dip stick to them a little bit better. And what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to start over here on the end, and I'm going to pick a trap off, come over here. Right here's my dip. When I got it dipped, I'm going to go hang it, grab the next one, and we're going to just keep doing that back and forth. We're going to dip all these first, and then I'll come and I'll dip the bottom row down there first and then work my way towards me. I'm probably going to take like these top 2, maybe 3 rows off and just stick them in this tote just so they're out of my way while I'm trying to get to some of the ones behind them. And then as I get, those will be the last ones I do, and then as I dip them I'll hang them up. So I'll grab one, dip it, and then hang it up. So what I got here, this is a gallon of Coleman fuel, and I reuse my stuff year after year. So I just use the funnel here and put it back in my can when I'm done. I got 2 cans of it. I've just got the one open now, and I'm just using a 5-quart ice cream pail. Pretty much every trap I have that's like a number 4 or smaller, I can dip in an ice cream pail. So I don't need anything bigger than that. So pretty much all my coyote traps will fit in there. The only thing I basically can't do is beaver traps. And then I have a bigger tub that I use, and that's why I got 2 gallons of the Coleman fuel. And then, so here's the second one that I have that's already pre-mixed. I got my can of dip in case I do need to, it thins down a little bit as you go, so in case I need to add a little. And then I have a gallon of fresh Coleman fuel that I can add a little extra if I need to, which I probably won't do. I'll probably just dump some of this one that's already pre-mixed in there if it starts going down. I got damn near 200 traps to do today. So I got darn near 200 traps to do today. So it's going to take a lot of Coleman fuel and dip actually out of this pail as I'm going. And when I get going, I'm gonna get started here, do a few, and then I'll get you guys turned on. I'll kind of show you what I'm doing, and then as I go periodically I'll turn you guys on, kind of give you an update of where I'm at. But once I get going, it should be just grab one, dip it. You don't need to let it set in there or anything like that. It's basically just kind of like people dip them in wax, or like you're just dipping them essentially in a paint. So you just in and out is about all you need. You don't, I mean, it'll coat it. If they don't look like it coated good enough, dip it one more time. But it isn't a lot of like let it set in there and soak for half an hour or nothing like that. It's just dip them, pick it out, hang it up, grab the next one, and dip them. So I said I'm gonna take some of these traps down here, and then I'm gonna dip a few, kind of get going, and then I'll turn you guys back on and kind of show you what I got going on. All right guys, so what I'm doing here, I got going. I got probably 2 dozen 110s already dipped here. So what I did, I have a piece of 9-gauge wire with just a hook bent in it. That way I don't have to stick my fingers in the pail every time. And then I've been grabbing 2 at a time. Dip one, switch it, dip the other. So all I'm doing is just taking it, just setting it down in there. And I've been doing 2 dunks. And you can see the difference in the color of those guys. And then I'm just switching and dunking again. And then I kind of let them just kind of drip off just a little, just so I don't waste so much stuff. Go over here, hang them up.
Oh, it went black here.
Yeah, you're good. Then I just grab 2 more and I just go right back to it. So I'm not spending an hour on each one. Like I said, you don't have to let them soak or anything in there. You just dunk them in. It's a coating, so you don't need to let it soak really. And like I said, just hook the second one, because I want to get the whole trap chain dunked. If I wasn't worried about like the ring getting dipped, then I wouldn't worry about the hook. But this way I don't get my fingers and my gloves as dirty. Like I said, you kind of get a system, it goes real quick. And like I said, this ice cream pail is perfect size for these traps. They go right in, coats the whole trap. Once in a while, like the trigger will hook it or something and it won't want to set down in there. Then I just use my thing and just kind of push it down in there. Like I said, just let them drip off a second. And on to the next one. So I'm just hooking them on my screws I got screwed into the 2x4s over here. Nothing fancy, just gotta hold them. I'll leave them hang out here for a couple weeks, probably maybe even close to a month, just whenever I get time to mess with them again. That'll let them kind of dry off. The Coleman feel will evaporate off. And then they do tend to be a little bit sticky, so I just leave them hang out here, let them get rained on, let them get a little, the dust will stick to them, and it kind of gets the stickiness away from them. Otherwise, these guys are ready to set come fall. Alright guys, so I've been going here, I don't know, like half an hour, 45 minutes. It's going pretty good. I'll kind of show you. I got, there's about 3 dozen traps on each one of these boards. I don't know if you guys can see, but it looks like they're coating real nice. I noticed towards the end, like these last couple here are getting a little bit thin, like it's coating but not quite as dark as I would like. So what I'm gonna do here, I'll show you. My pail, I've lost about an inch down because it was like almost up to this ring, so I've lost like an inch of fluid in there. After about 50 traps, I did add about, I don't know, a 1/6 of a can of speed dip to it because it looked like it was getting a little thin already. So I added like a 1/6 of a can. And then I've done about 50 traps since then. And now it looks like it's getting thin, but my traps are just barely getting covered in there because I'm losing, the fluid level ain't high enough. So what I got here, we'll just set you guys back up so you can see here. Alright, so what I got is my second can of fluid here. This one was full right to the top. I shook it up the best I could to try and get some of the particulates because it does settle out. So I shook it up the best I can, and I'm just going to raise this up to about the same level, so I add about an inch. And then I'm going to dip a few traps here, and I'll show you me dipping them just to see how thick the coating is, because this stuff might be a little more concentrated with the speed dip than what I have in my pail already. So I don't want to add speed dip first and then have it be too thick, because I'd rather have it a little thinner. I'm mixing like probably 4 to 1 Coleman fuel to speed dip, if not a little less than that, 5-to-1 or something. I want it pretty watery. I don't want like a super heavy thick coat on there, because then it kind of follows up your trap operation sometimes. So yeah, like I said, I'm gonna dump this in there. We'll dip a few traps for you guys, and I'll kind of show you. You know, it's hard to see probably on camera that they're not getting coated quite as well, but we'll dip a few here. I'll dump some in and we'll dip a few, and I'll kind of show you what they look like here. So I'm just gonna fill this up back up to about an inch from the top of my pail. That way it's a little easier for my traps to get covered up when I'm dunking them in there. Trying not to spill too much here, but it does slosh. So just looking at it, it does look like this stuff's a little bit thicker. Just set that down, and then I'm going to take my rod, and I basically, when I dumped the extra speed dip in there a little bit ago, this is all I did. I just took my little wire here, just kind of stirred it up just to make sure it's all kind of incorporated throughout the whole mixture here. Okay. So what I'm doing is I just hook it through the hole there, so I don't have to hang on to it. Dunk it in, pick it out. You can see it already looks nice and black, and then I dunk it in one more time. And I actually don't think I'm gonna add any more. And then the 110s or the 1.5s seem like they're taking a lot more dye, but they're also taking a little bit more to drip off too. But I don't know if you guys, how well you could see that, but it does give them kind of a brown sheen to begin with, but then as it dries, that will actually get a little bit darker. But I'll probably go a few traps, and then I may probably end up adding a little bit of speed dip to it anyway. All right, we'll dip a few for you guys here. And the only reason why I just added that is just so it's a little bit, because if your trap sets like that, they don't hardly get covered if they don't tip over in there. So when the pail was a little bit lower, it just took a little bit more like playing around with them to get the trap completely down in the... So just dunk it in. You don't really have to leave it in there too long. Pick it out. I've been kind of letting it drip off a little, then dunk it back in. And then just let it drain so I don't waste so much. And on to the next one. It don't take too long once you kind of get going. Had a dead bug there. I didn't want that getting in and sticking on my trap somewhere. And the rustier your traps are, the better it sticks. So that's why I kind of rinsed them off yesterday and left them hang outside, so they did get a little bit of surface rust. Plus, you know, they were all rusty to begin with. It's not coating too bad. I'll probably go a little bit like this before I add a little more speed dip to it. Again, it's pretty quick and easy process. I don't get too carried away. I'm doing this outside. I don't really care about the mess. I'm wearing rubber boots that I use for actually skinning and fleshing, so they get a little bit on it. It doesn't matter. You do want to try and keep it off your skin. Like I got a few splatters up on my arms. It won't come off. It will take like a week or more before that comes off your skin. it kind of like soaks right in. It's worse than paint. It don't, like paint, it will dry and you can scrape it off. This stuff kind of soaks right into the pores. All right, we'll do this trap and then I'll shut you guys off for a bit here and we'll keep going. Like I said, pretty simple process. I'm just kind of watching how it's coating my traps. If it looks like it gets a little too light, I'll add just a little bit of the speed dip mix to it. I'll stir it up good with after I add it, just so make sure it's kind of incorporated all in there. And then just keep going. And then I'll show you guys when I'm done here how I take care of all this and how I save it from year to year. Alright, we'll see you guys in a bit. Alright guys, so I'm gone to these stop-loss traps. They're creating a little bit of a unique problem. They don't, because of the extra spring or the stop-loss part of the trap, they don't really want to go into my pail real good. So here's what I figured out. I ended up just holding it up, setting it in so the stop-loss spring is sticking out. I dunked my chain, but when I pick it out, it kind of tips down in and then it dips this part of it too. And then I just grab it again, set it back in there, and then it kind of flops down in there. It's kind of a pain, it's splashing it a little bit or whatever, but otherwise they don't want to fit in my pail. But it is doable with a 5-quart ice cream pail. So again, I'm just dipping the spring part in first, and then as I pick it up, this kind of tips and it flops down in. Let it drain off just a little. Back in, and then as you pick it up, it kind of flops in. Like I said, I don't know of any traps like number 3s or smaller that I can't dip in just an ice cream pail like this. So and that way I only need basically a gallon of Coleman fuel to do it. If you had anything bigger, you're going to need more than 1 gallon of Coleman fuel to dip. So a little bit of a process, but it's working. Alright. We'll keep going here. We'll turn you guys back on. Alright guys, so I'm all done dipping everything here. We'll give you a quick look on how they all look, and then I'm going to show you how I reclaim my mixture. And I'll just stick it back in my can, and then I just store it in my garage. We'll give you a quick look around here. Grab a rag. Alright, so I showed you all these guys. So we counted, there's 111, we think, traps on these 3 boards. And then I got all of these guys. There's stop losses, a row of stop loss, a few more 110s in the bottom, and then all 1.5s in here. So I showed you guys I added about an inch or so of mix, but I'm actually down about an inch or so again. And then I actually did add a little more of the actual speed dip because they look like they weren't getting coated. Some of these last ones maybe could have got coated just a little darker, but I didn't want to add any more in there because, like I said, I was just about done. Alright, so we're going to set you up here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. So all I got is just a metal funnel here. And that's all I use it for, so the inside's kind of all cruddy looking in there or whatever. It fits. It's got a straight nozzle on the end, and it will fit right down into the spout. The only thing is you got to kind of watch. It'll start and bubble around the edge if you pour too fast. What I'm gonna do before I try to start dumping this is I'm gonna just stir it up one more time just to try and get as much of the dye mixed into the fuel as I can, so it don't just stay in my pail. Okay. just gonna take my pail and just slowly dump it back into my, and being I'm using a 5-quart pail here, I need to watch when I get right to the end just so I don't overfill my can. But otherwise, yeah, it just goes right back in there. And it'll be ready to use later on this fall or even next year or even a couple years from now. Alright, so I still got a little bit left in there, but I don't want to overfill this can. So I'm going to look. Oh, we're down like that far, so I think I can get it all in there. I'm just going to slosh it around a little. And there you go, and it gets, my pail gets pretty clean. There's, you know, it's coated a little bit, but, and then basically all I'll do is my pail, the funnel, all these cans, everything I've used, I'll leave them set out here just like all the traps, so they'll kind of get weathered. The stuff will all dry down or whatever, and it'll kind of get the stickiness off of everything. In a couple weeks I'll pick everything up, and like I said, I just store it up in my garage outside. It does its Coleman fuel, it's not going to go bad. Just make sure the lids are sealed down tight. Alright, that should conclude this video. Like I said, if you guys got questions on what I'm doing here, just leave some comments down below. I'll try to answer them the best I can. If I didn't explain something well enough, I can always re-video something for you guys and add a second little video up on this. But otherwise, like I said, I'm pretty much done. My traps will hang here, like I said, probably I'll leave them close to a month just because I won't need the room. Eventually I'll hang my coyote traps all out here, and then I just leave them until the seasons come. So they basically get rained on, aired out, everything. I might show you some of that down the road of the cleaning of them. So I just, like I said, I just use a hose and rinse them all off, make sure there's no mud still stuck on them. I'll dye the ones that need to be dyed, and then otherwise I leave them hang right up until basically the day before season. I'll throw them in totes and then get them in my truck ready to go set. So like I said, all these will hang here probably a month. When they're dry, I basically just wrap the chain kind of around like the dog and the pan side of it, and then just stack them in a tote. That way they don't really get tangled up too badly or anything like that. And I can get, like, in a tote like this size, I can get about 3.5, almost 4 dozen of them in one tote. And then the 110s, I'll stack in some little bit smaller totes. But otherwise, yeah, I just want to thank you guys for watching Schmattz Outdoors. Again, if you guys got any questions, leave them down below. Otherwise, hit the thumbs up on this video. Hit that subscribe button if you aren't already. And we'll see you guys on the next one.